So now you want to talk statistics. Now you want to pull the pie charts, the bar graphs, and crime rates like they aren't cooked in your kitchen, stirred with your spoon, and served on your terms. Let me ask you something. How convenient is it to claim that black people commit the most crimes when you're the one who designed the crime scene? Now I get it. You were raised on a steady diet of cops and robbers where the black man was always the villain and then the white man had the badge and was always the hero. You were actually spoon-fed on propaganda through school books, news feeds, and Netflix narrative. So let me walk you like a dog on this very slowly. I'm not here to shame your ignorance. I'm here to expose the system that trained it. Isn't it funny how people who own the prison get to define the prisoner and make money off of it? Isn't it ironic that the group who created police force out of slave patrols now want to pretend that the bat has no bias? Isn't it interesting that you make the rules, write the laws, control the media, and fund the judges, yet we're the ones who are labeled lawless? But you know I'm always going to come with those receipts and historical and legal and cultural records. First, the origin of policing. The first formal police force in the U.S. was in 1704 Charleston, where slave patrols ran this thing. Their legal job? To hunt down enslaved Africans, beat them, and return them to property status. Even after abolition, the black code and vagrancy laws criminalized black freedom. Stand on the corner too long, and guess what? You just might get arrested. No job? Oh, we arresting you. Looking at a white man in the eyes too long? Oh, we gonna arrest you for that too. And what about the 13th Amendment, Luke? If you haven't seen the Netflix documentary, go check that one out, because it states neither slavery nor involuntary servanthood, except as punishment for crime, shall exist. Translation for those who get stuck on stupid: slavery was never abolished. It was rebranded. And see, here comes the convicted leasing, where black men were arrested for petty, often bogus, charges leased to corporations like the U.S., still to work in conditions worse than slavery. Yeah, and what about that crack versus cocaine thing? Sentences. Yeah, did you know in 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act, 5 grams of crack equals same sentence as 500 grams of powder cocaine, which is the higher purity? Who used crack? Black neighborhoods. Who used powder? White suburbs. And who got the time? Well, you already know that. I don't even have to spell that out for you. And what about the war on drugs, aka the war on black communities? Yeah, we know that. The whole thing in elementary school to keep a kid off drugs. Oh, well, we know CIA involvement in funneling crack cocaine into South Central LA. We know about that. The police were directed to over-police black neighborhoods while ignoring the white suburbia. And now, let's not talk about marijuana, how it's legal now, and you white entrepreneurs are making billions. Meanwhile, brothers who sold dime bags in 2002 still in prison and sitting in prison today. And what about this legal immunity for white criminality? Brock Turner, 3 months in jail for sexual assault. Ethan Couch, affluenza teen, no jail after killing 4 people. That math don't seem to be mathing. Meanwhile, black teen supposedly steals a backpack in Rikers Island. He's there for 3 years and no conviction. The math ain't mathing, Cletus. What's your excuse? But let's talk about this psychological warfare. Let's talk about how America actually scripted its racism, not just into law, but into entertainment. Yeah, you remember The Birth of Nations, 1915, a silent film that glorified the KKK as heroes and depicted black men as rapists and beasts chasing this innocent white woman? The villain, a fictional black predator. The saviors, of course, white robe terrorists. It was screened at the White House under President Woodrow Wilson, who called it history's written with lightning. The film didn't just entertain you, it revived the Klan, justified lynchings, and rewrote the psychology of racism with moving pictures. Let's see, what about those other cultural crimes? What about the minstrel shows, 1800s through the 1900s, where white men in blackface portrayed black people as lazy, although we built this country with free labor, foolish and subhuman? The original branding campaign of dehumanization. What about Amos and Andy in 1951? The stereotypical portrayal of a black incompetence aired across America like Comedy Hour for white supremacists. And what about Mandingo in 1975? Black men reduced to sexual monsters and gladiators, fetished, feared, and never human. And what about the Song of the South in 1946 Disney? Slavery reimagined as happy sing-along plantation propaganda for the whole family to view. All right, I guess you have amnesia and forgot that. And what about today? News headlines turn black victims into suspects and white terrorists into loners with a hard life. And let me be very clear, just in case you aren't getting it, you don't just own the courtroom, you own the camera. And when you write the script, you control the sympathy. You criminalize us in the courtroom and then re-imprison us in Hollywood. And let me tell y'all this. Y'all framed, falsely imprisoned, and you forgot about us. Oh, and before you get too cozy, quoting crime statistics, let's not forget the thousands of black men sitting in prison right now for crimes they didn't even commit. Let's talk about police who've been caught planting drugs, planting weapons, and fabricating witness testimonies and statements. Corrupt prosecutors who buried evidence, even when it meant a man lost decades of his life. Y'all didn't care about that right then, did you? No, you let it happen. And judges who looked the other way because closing a case mattered more than finding the truth. What about the Innocent Project? Reports that over 60% of DNA exonerations in the U.S. are black men. Make that make sense, Cletus. And yet, your beloved government, your sacred system, has passed laws in many states to block access to DNA testing after convention. Now let that sink in for you. They would rather leave an innocent man to rot than to admit the system is wrong and broke. So tell me again, who's the real criminal? The man sitting in the cell or the one who put him there in the first place knowing he didn't do it? But here's the irony. Here's the hypocrisy. You claim that we're more violent, yet the most genocidal people in history built colonial empires on blood. You say we're the criminals, yet Wall Street was built by stolen black labor and still robs working people legally. You blame black on black crime, but never talk about white on white war, which led to 2 world wars and millions dead. You act like statistics aren't skewed, but you wrote the test. You gave no pencils and still said we failed. But I'm not going to stop there. I want to reframe this identity from victim to victor. See, let's be clear. We're not criminals. No, we aren't. We are survivors of century-long psychological, economical, and legal assault. And our communities have been under siege, not because we're broken, but because we're powerful. Because we reflect the image of the Most High, baby. And that terrifies you more than any statistic could ever do. And I already know your comment, but I didn't own the slaves. Maybe not. But the system you benefit from did and still does. And if you stay silent while it continues, you're not innocent, you're compliant, baby. Oh, and I hear you. You claim you just quoting facts. No, you're quoting filtered data, curated by the same system that put the boots on our neck and then ask why we can't breathe. So next time you throw around crime statistics like it's confetti, ask yourself this. If you own the courtroom, write the laws, train the cops, and fund the prisons, who's really guilty? You don't get to build a box, place us inside it, and then act surprised when we fight to get out. We're not the criminals. We are the case file. We are the evidence. We are the testimony of the survival. And trust this, baby, truth is on record.